Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means.
We don't yell except on Fridays.
We only yell on Fridays. Welcome in, everybody. We've got a lot to talk about, especially with the latest news regarding De'Aaron Fox. Keith and I were about to go and record today's show, and we said, you know what, since there's so much going on, let's just go live and let everybody come in as we are recording the show. So you guys get to actually be part of the show's recording process today. So happy to see you all here. Those of you that are jumping in, obviously the big news, and let's just dive into it. Let's get off the top. De'Aaron Fox reportedly would like to be traded from the Sacramento Kings. The Kings are going to make Fox available on the trade market. A lot of different reporters chiming in with little bits and pieces of this, sounding like maybe the Spurs might be the place that he wants to go to. He'd be a great combo with Wemby. But Keith, the bottom line, the Kings preparing for life without De'Aaron Fox. What are your thoughts on the situation and kind of where this is all going to go?
Yeah. So I'll pull up this question here because it's not that one. This one from MJ. Is this official trade request by Fox? It's a little unclear. There's some reporting that the Kings have made it known, hey, we're going to listen to De'Aaron Fox offers. Then it came back with Fox saying, whoa, hey, if we're doing this, then I want to go to this specific place. Now, this is all evolving in real time, so maybe we'll get more stuff here as the show goes on today. But one of the things that has come out was from Shams, it's not the Lakers. That's not where he is presumably wants to go. There's been no reporting of anywhere other than, and now several folks have picked this up, the San Antonio Spurs, which that was out there
for a while,
months ago when it was like, hey, maybe De'Aaron Fox. Remember, Fox is meeting with the Kings, and maybe wants to be traded. It was San Antonio was the place that was mentioned. That's been several places, and one of the things that was put out there was, hey, we're ready to go, and we want to go. So now Sam Amick is coming up with San Antonio as well. So my guess is we're seeing, much like Jimmy Butler would love to get to the Suns, De'Aaron Fox would love to get to the San Antonio Spurs. Clearly a far easier trade to make, but we're not done. We're nowhere near getting this done yet from all reports and things that are flying around. So we'll see, but sounds like he wants to get to the Spurs, and that makes some sense where he can pair up with Wemby for years to come.
Now, Sam Amick does note that even with that being the preferred destination, the Fox side will remain open to all destinations. So it doesn't have to be the Spurs, but that appears to be his preferred option here. And Rich Paul letting the Kings know, like, hey, it's time. Let's go ahead and do this. Keith, the Kings in a very precarious situation here. What do they do? What I think that's really fascinating in all of this. What do the Kings do if they decide, okay, we're going to move De'Aaron Fox? And you look at his contract, he's under contract, not just this, it's not like he can leave this summer or something. He's under contract for next year as well. But what he can do is say, I will not sign an extension with you, Sacramento, which is letting them know he will be leaving in free agency in the summer of 2026. And then the Kings have probably the burden of moving him sometime between now and next year's trade deadline. Now, Fox would probably prefer that it just gets done now if he really wants out, but the Kings can push back and say, well, we can wait till the summer. We don't have to do this right now. We've got you under contract. So what do the Kings do? What are they looking for in return? Because even if they take De'Aaron Fox off this roster, you still have Sabonis, you have DeMar DeRozan at 35 years old, you've got Malik Monk, you've got pieces to potentially go win basketball games. Do the Kings try to look for win now pieces like what we've been hearing from the Miami Heat in a Jimmy Butler trade, or do they just say, you know what, maybe we'll really tear this thing down and look for future assets?
Yeah, so a couple thoughts on that, as well as the way that report was framed from Sam Amick. Is my guess is this might be Fox saying, hey, I'm not gonna put you in a spot where you I'm gonna eliminate teams. Yeah. And then you have to take a less than return. My guess is this is Fox saying, hey, we're done together, but let's not throw everything away. I'm not burning the bridge here. Let's try to make it work. And if you can get a good return somewhere else, we'll figure it out. But back channel, it's probably, hey, still really want to go to San Antonio, which then, right, gives San Antonio a boost to, like, all right, let's put something together, go get him. From the Kings side, I would assume you still want to try to win here. And if not, then you really need to think about what are we doing then long term. If we can get win now players back in place of Fox, okay, then let's just keep going. We're playing pretty good. We've got some guys who can really play. We've got Devin Carter kind of in the fold as our point guard of the future, maybe. So maybe we just get a get-by guy to help with depth reasons for the next year or so. We get to reset our books a little bit, and we'll figure it out around Sabonis and Monk and DeRozan and Keegan Murray and all that. The other option is, hey, De'Aaron Fox is out. DeRozan's available. Who wants to call on maybe Malik Monk, maybe Sabonis? They're kind of, a little bit older, but not, super old. So a lot of options here. My guess is they want to win. They owe that top 12 protected pick to the Sacramento Kings. I believe it's, let me double check that. Yeah, top 12, they keep it. If it's 13 or later, it goes to the Hawks rather. So you're in a spot where, do you want to try to fall far enough that you could keep that pick? That would add to the rapidly growing collection of teams that are potentially tanking to keep a pick that is protected. Or do you say, no, let's push and really try to get into the playoffs? And hey, if we give up a late lottery or a non-lottery pick, it is what it is. That frees up that obligation. So a lot of paths on the table here for Sacramento.
Yeah, if you look right now, that's a top 12 protected pick. And right now, it would be the best case. If everything just stopped right now, it would be the best case scenario for the Hawks for this situation anyway, because the Hawks would be getting the 13th pick from Sacramento right now. So, maybe there's some incentive there. Now, that could matter for, say, Golden State, who is right behind the Hawks in the standings. The Kings in the standings. Yeah. So if the Kings decide that's it, forget it, we're out, we're going to try to build for a better future. That could, that would vault Golden State back up, and
could matter for the Spurs.
Could matter for the Spurs too.
And the Spurs are like, hey, let's make a real run at this, right? That could be a thing that happens here.
That's the other thing, right? Like if you're
behind,
if you're the Kings and you're questioning, can they lose enough to keep their pick? Maybe they can't, because you could push the Spurs ahead of you by giving them Fox, and you could keep your pick that way. So that's kind of interesting. But this is going to be, I think, a really fascinating thing to watch here moving forward. I think now, as much as we've talked about Jimmy Butler, De'Aaron Fox is the best player on the market right now.
Right now at the moment, yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yep. Yeah. With Butler's good. Brandon Ingram's good. We're going to talk about those guys here in a couple minutes. But yeah, De'Aaron Fox is just age-wise just in a different place than those guys are.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of which, and we'll continue to take questions and comments and things as the show goes on, but real quick on the Jimmy Butler front. So in terms of what's going on there, we got some news that the Phoenix Suns still struggling to find a team that wants to take Bradley Beal, and makes sense. Beal reportedly will not waive his no-trade clause to get to the Chicago Bulls, so that's worth noting. And that as a result, the Miami Heat are now lowering their asking price on Jimmy Butler, which is drawing some other teams into the fold. Teams that we've heard, particularly being the Golden State Warriors and perhaps even the Philadelphia 76ers with a Paul George swap, which is interesting. But it seems that Miami is pretty determined to get him off their roster by the trade deadline. They're lowering the asking price now. They want to get this done before February 6th. They want to get it done so they can move on. So the air can clear and they can move on from the situation. Everybody needs to, all parties involved need to move on from this situation. So the Miami Heat seem pretty determined to get him off their roster and get this done, get back whatever assets they can. And that's brought maybe the Warriors, who are obviously the 11th seed in the West. They should be in a bit of a desperation mode. And then you've got a team like the 76ers, among other groups, among other teams that are now suddenly potential trade partners for the Heat. And I wouldn't say Phoenix is totally out. They're going to continue doing what they can to get Bradley Beal somewhere. They're going to continue having those talks. but it seems like what Miami is doing is trying to open up the market a bit beyond Phoenix by lowering that asking price.
Yeah, so all the challenges we've talked about for weeks now still exist there. One thing that is important to note too is if Jimmy Butler is dead set on getting to Phoenix, just because I've seen people kind of, well, maybe he goes somewhere else and then just goes to Phoenix in the summertime, almost impossible.
He'd have to
He
take a
could do
minimum.
an opt-in and get trade, but
Sure.
they won't be able to sign and trade for him. They're still going to be far over the aprons. Those paths won't be available. Maybe an opt-in and trade where it's the same kind of thing, and then Beal is open somewhere because it's the off season. He doesn't have to move his family in season. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see with this. What Miami lowering their ask seems to really be is the Heat had been very dead set on we want not long-term salary, but guys who can help us win right now. I mean, you have a pretty limited pool there. And they were basically saying, we don't want salary past next season. So they're willing to rest of this year, take salary next season, then open up a ton of cap space in the summer of 2026. Now it sounds like the Heat are like, yeah, maybe we'll take a little bit of money into that summer of 2026, and then we'll kind of go forward from there. If they're open to that, that just widens the pool of players that are available. Then now maybe something else could happen. So it's going to be very, very interesting, to see how this all plays out. It's still here, but as I've said for weeks now, I continue to believe he will get traded. I think the Heat are no one wants this indefinite suspension to end and then have to deal with whatever comes after that. A lot of people have said teams tell guys all the time, just go away and we're going to pay you to stay home. That still runs afoul of the player participation policy. He is an all-star, all-NBA level guy, so he does trigger that. And trust me, Jimmy Butler is under no desire to help the Miami Heat by saying, yeah, my back's kind of been bugging me. That's why I'm out and away from the team. He would 100% be like, I'm healthy, I'm ready to play, and they just won't let me. Yeah. And that's where it gets super messy. So
well, and that's where it helps too with his own argument with the NBA, with the NBPA. When it comes to contesting the suspension and trying to get some of his money back, they'll file a grievance.
Yeah, I'm ready to play. Now, you could get him back and then just put him on the bench. That's a whole other thing. Like there's, playing and being available are two very different things, but that's super messy. So not really sure, what happens, with that one, in the end, but I continue to believe he will get traded. I've felt it'll be Phoenix all along. If something stumbles there and they can find somebody else, maybe that's the direction they go there. We've heard Milwaukee maybe now is like, maybe we just go the Jimmy Butler route and we do go that way. That's since been refuted that he said no Bucks. It still seems to be no Heat, no Grizzlies, anywhere else. I'm okay. We kind of figured out from there. But yeah, I mean, we're still, orbiting that now as like Fox comes in as, a new player in the mix here as well.
God,
it's like
I love
the
this
Royal
league.
Rumble.
I love
it's
this
like
league.
we were watching this, and now it's like, and now we have a new entrant every 2 minutes. We're gonna have a new guy on the trade market.
Next thing you know, it's Edge making his big comeback, and he's going to spear everybody. Yep, yeah, it's awesome. We've got plenty of other topics to get into, but Doug, not Dave McMenamin, said, "Afternoon, gentlemen. Do you think this trade season will underwhelm?" No. Like Keith, I've been getting this question a lot. A lot. I've been having people ask me, like, "Is this going to be a dud? Like, it's already a dud trade?" I'm like, we've had 4 trades already.
Five.
Oh, that's right. Well, five with the Suns. Well, the draft pick trade, but I'm talking with players involved.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. That's more activity than we typically see. All of the market effects that I was hoping would come into play this year, with the terms of the number of sellers on the market, the number of buyers, it being a bit more even. Years past, it's been way more buyers than sellers, and so there hasn't really been a lot. Now we've already seen a bunch of moves happen. I really think, Keith, that and maybe the De'Aaron Fox thing changes the dynamic, but I think once the Jimmy Butler trade is done, whatever it is, the dam's going to burst, and that's going to trigger a bunch of other moves.
Completely agree. Yeah. Now, what could happen is trade deadline day, if these big moves happen within, like, let's say the next few days, the day itself could be a little underwhelming because we might be like, we already had them. But basically now, forward, anything happening now, it's trade deadline, right? Like that's, just you put it all in the bucket, even if it's going to make the day itself to be, a little bit wonky with that. So yeah, it's going to be, absolutely bananas. Our guy here, JM Ball 11 says, can't wait to join for the live show on deadline day. We will be live at the trade deadline, probably a couple hours ahead of the trade deadline, 1 Eastern-ish. We'll see. Kind of depends on what's going on in the morning of trade deadline day, but we will be live through the trade deadline. Generally, we go about an hour after the deadline in case deals are still coming in and details are coming out and all that stuff. But yeah, we will be live. So look for that a week from Thursday. So what's that? 9 days from now?
Yeah.
So we're almost there.
Almost there. All right. Let's go here. The Raptors, according to Mark Stein, reportedly interested in Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
Keith, I was just talking about this a little bit over in the basketball bulletin, but the Raptors interested. I think they're just trying to be opportunistic buyers here on a fairly depressed market for Brandon Ingram. But the question, it all goes back to that same question, though, of are they going to pay him? Are they going to pay him what he wants on his next contract? And maybe they think that BI and Scotty Barnes is such a great duo that it's worth making something like this happen. But the Raptors are a team with a lot of expiring salary. I mean, we could see, and this could wind up being a much bigger trade. But I mean, Bruce Brown, Chris Boucher in a deal that nets them Brandon Ingram, and if you give some draft capital or something, New Orleans keeps their books fairly clear, and there you go.
Yeah, and if I'm the Raptors, if you're thinking, hey, we don't have a path to cap space anytime soon, because they don't. Even with that money coming off the books, they're still capped out. So you would be looking at what is our path to getting a player who is better than Brandon Ingram to Toronto, and there may not be one. Brandon Ingram, despite the fact that he's in his 9th year in the league, which how that happened, I don't really understand. He is only 27 years old. He doesn't even turn 28, if I have my math right here, until the offseason next year. So, I mean, he's really set up to be something for Toronto. Like little older than a couple of these guys, but he fits in the timeline relatively well. If the Raptors' thought process is, hey, we have Pirtle, Barnes, Barrett, quickly. We get one more guy in here. We can have Grady Dick, Ochai Agbaji coming off the bench. We'd still probably have Kelly Olynyk. We'll have to find a little bit more depth, but we can fill that out with veteran guys. The money that comes off the books, if you get Ingram on a relatively fair deal, you could still be, under the tax. So they'd really be in a position where all of a sudden that starts to be a lot more interesting of a team there, in Toronto than maybe what you have right now. If again, they feel like Brandon Ingram is the guy to really push us back into playoff contention and more, then yeah, go get him now. That's like pre-agency, right? We always talk about that. That's your pre-agency move.
So, I mean, for the Raptors, I think it makes some sense here. For the Pelicans, you could do this without impacting your future salary cap space. I think it's not a bad, but I'll tell you what the other thing would be here, Keith. I think that if he landed in Toronto, the Raptors would say, hey, how's that ankle feeling? Why don't you take it easy? Let's rest up. Don't push 100%. It. No reason to, because they're in full tank mode. They don't want to throw BI and Scotty Barnes and then suddenly go on a winning streak.
Games for whatever reason. They're
I know they've been doing it too much.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, that's exactly what they would do. Hey, that ankle needs the rest of the year. This move is for, next season and beyond. Like
they are, I mean, you look at them right now.
Yeah.
The Toronto Raptors won 4 games in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Knock it off, Raptors.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
They pushed up past Charlotte and Brooklyn in the last week, and that's not the direction you really want to be going.
Dumb.
But I mean, they're still right there. They're fine.
Yeah.
But, yep.
Guys, last only warning. If you're in the chat and you're posting like fake news type stuff, breaking, this is how I'm about to boot you. You know who you are. Just stop it. Otherwise, you're done.
Yeah, it's already hard enough to follow this stuff without being intentionally a jerk and confusing people.
Yeah. All right. Let's go here. The Heat have reportedly had interest in Julius Randle, and I believe, Keith, that this day has had so much already. I believe it was Fred Katz but at this point, so much
Yeah, it was
has
Fred.
bounced around. Okay.
No. This was Ian Begley. Fred Katz
Okay.
had the Bradley Beal doesn't want to go to the Bulls.
That's right.
One.
That's right. So you've got the Heat having interest in Julius Randle. Could this be, and that's the way that you could get a salary that expires before 2026. What do you think about a Bam Randle combo?
Yeah, I don't like it as much as I like the budding Bam and Khalil Ware combo.
Yeah,
That's
right?
been fun. That we've had seeing that grow and develop. I don't know. I mean, I don't really fully, I guess I don't really get this one from the Heat side. I'm not really sure why you would want to go down this direction, but yeah, if it's like, hey, we got to get one more guy in who can play. Jimmy Butler, even though smaller than Julius Randle, they play kind of similar-ish games where neither one of them's like a real dead-eye shooter from the outside. Both of them are really playmaking forwards at this point. So you could probably incorporate them and feel like, hey, within our defensive infrastructure, we can make it work and go. So I don't hate the idea. It's just a little odd to me.
Yeah. I think it's more about the salary than anything else. But I mean, he's a talented player. I just don't know if this is. But if you've got to take back salary for Jimmy Butler, at least you're getting a guy who expires in 2026. Yep. I would assume he picks up the player option, and there you go. Would it be the funniest thing possible if Jimmy gets traded to the Wolves?
It would be. I think that was made clear in the report. I'd have to go find it now, but I think that was made clear. It wasn't to get Jimmy Butler to the Wolves. But again, this was in Brian Windhorst on the Hoop Collective. I think that was yesterday's Hoop Collective. Really emphasized, like, if this Jimmy Butler trade happens, it is very likely this is going to be a multi-team trade, like 4, 5, maybe even 6 teams. And they were talking a little bit. One of the things I had referenced where teams were saying, we are, everybody's kind of waiting because you get something lined up and like, hey, but we got to hold because we may jump into the, we may jump into the Jimmy Butler trade as a, extra team in to help facilitate or something like that. And that's kind of holding things up. That's what he was talking about. So I think we're in a very interesting place. And to your point earlier in the show, that's like what's kind of holding the dam right now, right? That move happened today. I think we would start seeing other moves. I'm not going to say like 5 other trades like on the immediate hours after, but I think within the next few days leading up to the deadline, we'd see a handful more.
Yeah. I do think we'll see more going on here. Let's see. Oh, somebody said they just liked the chat. Yeah, let's get a spike here.
Let's go.
For Studio Stu, who just checked in.
Yeah, we like
hit that like button for Stu
right now. So let's get those likes up. It really does help.
Absolutely. All right, let's go. Let's go here. Well, we got a little bit of an injury update, Keith.
Yeah, minor stuff. Relatively minor stuff. Cam Johnson, the Nets are saying he's out. Will be reevaluated after the weekend, early next week. This could be Cam Johnson's out through the trade deadline. And if he doesn't get traded, then we'll play him on and off as we continue tanking, or we'll, we're just making sure he's okay. And that's either way, that's fine. No real issues with that. We all know what the Nets are doing at this point.
Yeah.
Dean Wade of the Cavaliers, who's been their starting 3 for quite a bit of the season now, he has a bone bruise in his right knee. Was made very clear. No structural issue, nothing related to the torn meniscus he had in that knee, but he's going to be out for multiple weeks. So that's a little bit of a bummer for the Cavs that he's going to be down. So they're going to have to, figure that out. Max Strus is back. He started the last couple games in place of Wade. That's probably what they'll continue to do. But their other options at that position all year have been Isaac Okoro and Karis LeVert, and they're both out as well, too. So Cavs just down some. Jalen Tyson's getting a couple minutes, their first-round pick. Had a really impressive summer league, so we'll see what it looks like.
Roma says, can the Lakers sneak in and snag Monk? I mean, can anybody get Monk? But again, it all comes down to the big question. What's the direction of the Kings? Are they going to try to rebuild, or are they going to try to get pieces to continue to try to win right now? And that will determine everything about whether or not Monk, Sabonis, anybody else, DeRozan, any of those guys are available.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we don't know today. If they start sending signals of, hey, we're ready to go, or hey, Fox moving him, we can flip him into a bunch of win now pieces and go. With this, there seems to be a lot of kind of buzz out there. Seen a little bit as we've been recording. I would not assume that if De'Aaron Fox gets traded to the Spurs, that Chris Paul is on the move in the trade, or Chris Paul gets waived. They love Chris Paul there in San Antonio. They'd be very happy to keep him for the rest of this year. And you could even at this point, if you're the Spurs, play the two of them together quite a bit.
Sure.
De'Aaron Fox has played beside other ball handlers in the past. Chris Paul's done it in the last couple of years. So I would not necessarily say that's a guarantee. I will say this. It gets a little hard for the Spurs to start matching salary if Chris Paul is not in the trade. Remember, Harrison Barnes can't go back to the Kings because he was traded there this offseason. So he can't go back. So you're talking Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, maybe.
But he's got so much long-term money.
Yeah, Jeremy Sohan.
I mean, I would imagine if I'm the Kings, I'm asking for Stephon Castle back.
I would at least start with that. And
I mean, that's got to be.
Like, let's see. But yeah, I mean, at least ask, right? It's not going to hurt, if you don't ask. So we'll see. But
one of I think the path to Chris Paul getting waived would be Chris Paul's $10 million expiring, 10.4, needing to be in the De'Aaron Fox trade, and the Kings saying we're rebuilding. We're gonna
that would
trade.
Be the only way.
That's where Chris. Otherwise, if you're the Kings and you're saying no, we're gonna get win now pieces, you just keep Chris Paul. Yeah.
Brought him home to California, and now I know it's not LA where he lives, but it's closer than he is in San Antonio. So, but they love him in San Antonio with Pop being out. He's been huge for the team, leadership wise. So I just don't bank on Chris Paul is moving or even gone if this goes down. Forgot about Zach Collins too. Zach Collins' contract could be a way to take on money from the Kings if the Kings are like, hey, we want to get off another deal. Like maybe that could happen there. So we'll see.
We've already talked about this. I just want to give a shout out to Showtime DJ for the super chat. We appreciate you. Sacramento fire sale, Lakers try for Sabonis. Again, all just gets wrapped up in what are the Kings doing? Are they
AD would probably like that, right?
I'm sure AD would like that just to not have to play against him.
Exactly. That's what I meant. Yeah. Well, Andy did wants a 5. I mean, sure, but I can't imagine Lakers have what it would take to get Sabonis.
They'd have to go all in. It would have to be connect both their picks, all that stuff. But
and then you got to match a pretty big chunk of salary,
$40 million
too, and
that's a lot.
Gets really hard. Yeah.
Right. Doug, not Dave McMenamin, said, Keith Trev, how much are trade rumors agent driven? I mean, it depends on the rumor, but there's a decent amount of that's out. But you have to keep in mind, like this time of year, I was talking about this earlier today on Lakers Nation, that there's a lot of smoke out there. And whenever you're looking at this stuff, you got to think of like who benefits from this. For example, with the Jimmy Butler situation, do the Warriors benefit from their name being put as being back in on Jimmy Butler? Do the 76ers benefit by hearing, oh, maybe Paul George for Jimmy? No, those teams don't necessarily benefit from that. Sure. So it's probably coming from somewhere else. So there's a lot of smoke out there, a lot of teams, agents, whatever, putting out what is going to be the best spin. It may be a real situation, but spinning it in the best way to benefit them. So is there a lot that comes from agents? Yes, but that doesn't mean that's all of it.
Yeah, it can come from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Trades are more often, and I'm not saying by like a massive percentage wise, more often trades come from the team side because sometimes the players they're not notified until it goes down. And every year we get players who are like, I got woken up by my pregame nap being told I'm being traded, right? I saw it first from Woj, or I saw it first from Shams. And, that's just sometimes how it goes down. Sometimes too, it's team driven, but it's not the teams that are involved. The quick story I could tell, this was not a trade, but this was a free agent thing. I called a team one summer and said, hey, would you guys be interested in player X in free agency? And they said, we would be, except we are, we heard he's going to this team instead. And then then I was able to confirm it and broke that signing with that. And that was where it was like, oh, okay, that's where the guy's going. So sometimes that's how it happens. Sometimes it's a third party that is like they weren't even involved, right? It could, the Fox thing could come out of, yeah, we called them Fox, but we heard the Kings already have a deal set with the Spurs. Right. So we're out. And, now no reporter's going to run off with that part, right? They're then going to call the Spurs and the Kings and De'Aaron Fox's reps and say, hey, what's going on with this? And that's where it'll go. But yeah, it kind of comes from all over the place. When it's straight rumors being leaked, we do what we always do. Who does this benefit? And you go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. IL Farkash. So in the case of multiple teams trade higher than 3, what are the rules a matter of direct interaction between the teams? So the touch rule, how does that apply if it's a bunch of players in a trade?
Yeah. So if it is a 3-team trade, all 3 teams need to touch each other one way or the other. But it doesn't mean everybody has to send and receive something from another team. It can just be, we are sending draft rights to a player to this team. We're sending a top 55 protected pick to this team, or we're sending cash to this team. Then the other thing, if it's 4 or 5, you just have to touch 2 of the other teams in the trade. And it's the same rules apply. So it's, if it's a 4 or 5 team trade, you still only need to touch 2 teams through that. And that's where sometimes people are like, why do these teams hang on to these draft rights for guys? That can be thrown in. Eric Pincus years ago coined the best term. Then I've since stolen it and used it, and he knows and fully supportive. A nothing something.
Yep.
Because everybody has to send something in a trade, but it's a nothing something that you're sending. It's something you don't really care about. This past summer, the draft rights to Pateri Koponen got traded in the Mikal Bridges trade. And Pateri Koponen was like, thanks, guys, but I think I'll stick with my current gig, because he was an assistant coach with the Spurs, I think.
Right.
So he's like, no, I don't think I'm gonna all of a sudden sign up. But that's just kind of how that goes. Yeah. I will yes on draft rights. The NBA did put the kibosh on. You're not allowed really to trade draft rights to guys who were drafted 40 years ago. And yes, there are some of those hanging out there on teams. They was like it has to be in the league's
ridiculous
estimation. The player's a reasonable chance of coming over, which I think is like, is this guy under 40? Like, all right, we'll let you trade his draft rights, and that's
right. Right. Doug Not Dave said, happy Detroit loses first round pick, so I don't have to watch the lottery again. LOL. I want a crazy trade season, but just not for my Pistons. I mean, the Pistons could be a buyer to try to add a piece, but they're in great shape right now. I mean, I think they might find themselves as a playoff team, not play-in team, when the dust settles.
Yep, 100%. And I will say this too with the Pistons. The Pistons are either going to be in a spot where they cannot leave the trade deadline with $14 million in cap space just unused. That would be criminal. Yeah, you could use it at the draft, fully understanding that. But you got to do something now. Either we like the group we have, we're okay, we're not ready to be full-scale buyers, so we're going to eat a contract or 2 as facilitators in exchange for picks. That's fine. No real issue there. Or go get yourself something that can really help out with this. So, yeah, I but yeah, I get Doug Not Dave's thing here where he doesn't want to watch the lottery and watch the Pistons land at 5 again.
Oh man, that's absolutely brutal. That was brutal. Dean says, I've asked this before, but can't remember the reply. Playoff Rondo or playoff Jimmy? Who's better for your team? And appreciate you guys for educating us. Best from Australia. Welcome in.
Yeah,
from Australia.
Mate.
Happy to have you here.
On the Bobby. I won't do anymore. We'll lose our full Australian audience.
That's just it. They're gone now. They're gone now. I am going to, based off of nothing more than just general vibe and the fact that I actually have his playoff Rondo jersey, I'm going playoff Rondo.
Yeah, I mean, I had it in my life too, so yeah, I want to pick playoff Rondo there. Playoff Rondo, especially if the game's on TNT, like then it's, that guy's one of the top 5 players of all time.
And he kept telling people there's no such thing as playoff Rondo. Yes, there is. Yeah, like, oh my gosh. I mean, we spent the whole season as Lakers fans that year. We all collectively saying, okay, Rondo is not good right now. But if somehow, some way, playoff Rondo still exists, this will be worth it. And sure enough, playoff Rondo did exist, and he was awesome in the
What if
playoffs.
that's still in there? Like if a team, remember when the Cavs kept signing Dante Jones on the last day of the season?
Yeah.
I wonder if like a team could just sign Rondo. He's like 64 years old, and they're like, just you got a run in you. And he's like,
I mean,
yeah, no back to backs. I'm good.
he can still do the Rondo fake. I'm sure
It's true.
it's named after.
True. So yeah, we'll go there.
Spacey said for Capella, is Atlanta? Oh, this is a hypothetical trade here. Okay.
I don't know who's Fonte.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Is it Detroit? Then it's Fontecchio.
Oh, okay.
That's
it. All right, I see.
Yeah, okay. I was looking. I'm like, where's Detroit in this trade? There they are. JHS, Jacks, and seconds from the Lakers.
You're not getting a second out of Detroit.
Yeah, 2 seconds from Detroit for Detroit to go from.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, to get Rui.
Yeah.
Detroit to get
a second for Rui. I mean, because they're really helping you get Capella too. Detroit's giving up 3 seconds in this trade.
Yeah, I don't think they're giving up 3 seconds.
No, there's not. They don't need Rui that bad.
No.
I don't even know that they need him. Period, and they certainly don't need him that bad.
Rui is good, but I don't think Detroit would make that move to trade off those seconds. They'd be looking to keep those seconds for like a big, like put him over the top move.
Yep.
All right. Let's go here. Do you see the CBA changing soon? No, I think it'll be at least another year. They'll let everything kind of settle and see what all the ramifications are, and then, go from there. But the change you and I have talked about a bunch, Keith, has been taking you must trade out, or you must trade away more salary than you're bringing back if you're a first tier. We've been talking about moving that to a second tier apron restriction.
Yep.
But to do something, they're going to wait to see what the true effects of the new CBA are. And they're not going to have a good sense of that until probably not this summer, but maybe the following summer. And even then, maybe not. I don't think it's going to be soon.
And I'll tell you, if they get a whole bunch of trades made here in the next week that are big blockbuster trades, and all of a sudden it's like, man, there might be 7 or 8 teams that have a real shot at this, which, by the way, that's why so many teams are no one's afraid of, like, people respect the Thunder and the Cavs, but nobody like fears them. There's no Warriors, Cavs, that 4-year run fear there, where it's like, man, we really need crazy luck and injuries to happen. So yeah, they're not there. There's no changes coming with that. They're just gonna ride this out. It's working the way they want it to work right now.
Mm-hmm. And teams are getting creative and they're finding ways around some of the restrictions. So
yeah, absolutely.
Kevin said, what's the likelihood of a Fox trade by the deadline? I mean, less than 50%, right? Like there's less than 50% pretty much on any trade always. But for this one, I mean, this is a total guess, but like maybe 25%, just because this is coming out now for a reason. There's something here, but the Kings can fall back on. He's not. If he was a free agent this summer, then I'd say, oh yeah, this is getting done then. But he's not. They can say, well, we didn't see the offer we wanted, so we're waiting until the summer and we'll move him then, or we'll move him sometime before next year's trade deadline. So I don't know. Like it depends on is there an offer there that they really, really like? Otherwise, I could see the Kings just saying, you know what, we'll hang on and we'll wait.
Yeah, this could be one of those two where the Kings get kind of far down the road, and then it's just a little too hard to pull off right now. So let's table this, and then we'll regroup in June and July, and we'll get it done then. The one that always comes to mind with that was Mike Conley to Utah. That trade got super close at the time. Conley was on a near max contract, and the Jazz and Grizzlies were like, it's just too hard. We can't make we don't have the additional roster spots. We don't have the salaries that can really be moved easily, and then it just kind of goes in a different spot. So I think we're in a spot where we could get pretty far down the line and then be like, all right, that's just a little too hard to pull off, but let's go there. So I would say 35-40% if I'm guessing, just because the only reason I'll say that is this didn't come out a week and a half ahead
For
of the
nothing.
deadline for no reason. Like
Yeah.
something's probably already a little bit further down the path than we're finding out today.
All right, let's go here. Diego said, do the Lakers have any players they can sell for seconds? I mean, sure. If they just wanted seconds, there's players they could trade.
I mean,
it might not be names that you want to hear, but
AD, Austin Reeves, sure.
Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect, LeBron, right? I mean, they could get seconds for all of those guys. Would a team that really needed a wing give seconds for Rui? Probably. I mean, he's
the only reason I said Detroit wouldn't, it just doesn't make sense for them.
For Detroit, right?
Yeah, if a team was like, we really need it. Yeah, DFS.
But are you gonna flip?
Sure.
Are you gonna flip Cam Reddish and get seconds? No.
Yeah, you're not getting anything of that. The guys that you're not getting anything of value for in a trade, in my opinion, on the Lakers are Hayes, Hood, Schifino, Bronny, who they're not going to trade anyway, Reddish, and Christian Wood.
God, could you imagine if they traded Bronny for like a second round pick?
Oh my God, I mean, I'd laugh. It'd be funny, but yeah, it's certainly not going to be a thing that happens. So yeah, no. I mean, that's just the reality. I mean, those guys, and that's no knock on those guys.
No,
but every team has 4 guys like that at the end of their roster too, where it's like those guys are just the end of the bench guys, and those guys get moved every once in a while, but you're just not in a spot where it makes sense to do that.
All right, let's go here. Jeremy said, what would a Fox to Spurs trade look like? Well, we kind of talked about that a little bit. Let's say you build something off. Chris Paul's expiring, Stephon Castle, and then you're talking about, Keldon Johnson, probably. Yeah.
I mean, you'd get in there, but yeah.
The reporting says he's open to another team, but that's a false flag, so the Kings don't get screwed.
We don't know that, but
right.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's probably, hey, I'm not going to bust things up. One, he doesn't have the ability to. He doesn't have a no trade clause, so he can't stop a trade. But how guys stop a trade? Same with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler doesn't have any no trade clause, but Jimmy Butler can make it known to the team that's acquiring him, hey, you're going to get me, and I'm going to be a problem for the next couple weeks, month, whatever it may be, and then we'll figure it out. I don't think Fox would be like that, but Fox can make it be known, you're getting me for maybe a year and a half. But I will say this. That was what everybody thought was going on with Donovan Mitchell, too. Cavs got him. He really, really wanted to go to New York. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, this isn't so bad. It's working out pretty good here. Yeah. Cavs came up with the big extension, and then he stayed. So we could see that. I mean, guys want to get where they want to get, but sometimes their minds can be changed.
Paul George with the Thunder. And now he didn't stay there long term. He wound up getting traded not long after, but he re-signed there with OKC. All right, let's go. We got a couple of news topics before we just close this out. Sure. 2-day NBA draft to stay for 20. I thought that worked out pretty well. Yeah, the two-day draft this last year. So
I wish the second round was in the afternoon again, but that's that was because there was a debate that night and they weren't gonna go head to head with the debate. So it's two nights, 25th and 26th. It's a Wednesday, Thursday, both nights at 8:00 on ESPN.
And then NBA Summer League, the date's July 10th through July 20th. So once again, sticking with that little bit later. For a little while there, we were doing Summer League like July 6th. And now they've moved it back a few days, give a little bit more time for free agency and everything to settle. And then they do Summer League. Always a good time. July 10th through July 20th. The only thing I wish, Keith, is I wish we knew the schedule early. It's the last minute that they put out who's playing when. And that is just, it wreaks havoc for me personally. This is purely about me, by the way. This is totally selfish commentary here on travel schedules.
Yeah, and part of that is they want the top picks to play each other as much as possible in the games. Whoever the first pick is. So let's say it's Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper. Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper's teams are going to play each other. Where Ace Bailey looks like the third pick, I would guess in their round robin games, all 3 of those teams will play each other. Through the course of the first few days of Summer League. That would be my guess.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Let's go here. Said Doug, not Dave McMenamin. I almost flipped it. You guys make this so fun. Appreciate it. Thanks. Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate you guys being here. Again, normally we only do the live show, and sometime this time of year we'll do more lives, but we normally just do our live shows on Fridays. this time of year when there's stuff going on, we'll go live. If there's a big trade, oftentimes we'll go live and do things like that. But for today's show, we thought with the De'Aaron Fox news just coming out, we were planning on recording. So we figured why not just let everybody in and let everybody kind of join the process here. So we appreciate all of you joining and being part of this show and hanging out with us a little bit and talking some trades and everything else going on around the NBA.
Yeah, little inside baseball here. When we record a show, there's a whole upload process that takes a little bit of time. That process doesn't exist with the live show. It just is out to the world. And Trevor's going to work. He's going to do his real job here in an hour.
Yeah, I've got a Laker game coming up in less than 2 hours. And then I have a child that I would like to spend some time with too.
She's all right. Put her in front of the TV, give her some chicken nuggets. She's good. Let's do this question from Robert, because he did a super chat and it didn't include it. Lakers receive Kessler, Clarkson, Patty Mills, Jazz, looks like filler and 2 first-round picks. It would have to be both of those first-round picks unprotected from everything we've heard. And then you're kind of stealing Clarkson in there too. Do you even really want Clarkson? I don't. I'm not that interested in him. Yeah. I mean, I guess
I know Lakers fans. I think Lakers fans who are haven't looked at Clarkson's efficiency.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit.
It's been rough.
Yeah.
And Clarkson is also one of those, like, how the hell is he 32, guys? Right? Like, how is Jordan Clarkson 32 years old? He should still be like 27 or something.
Yep. Yeah. Did you see? I know he got a couple minutes yesterday against your Lakers, but Taj Gibson started over the weekend.
Yeah. Taj was playing. I had a bunch of people on the live play-by-play. We're like, Taj is still around.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like the closest guys to our age. So keep going. It was rough, man. I'll tell you that I don't follow hockey, so I don't know if there's any really old hockey players. But when Tom Brady retired, it was like, well, that's it. They're all younger than I am now.
Right.
Like, he was like the last guy hanging in there that was older than me. And y'all have that eventually too. So it's not just me being old and washed.
It's the way of the world.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes.
Yeah, but the Jazz they've really like said we talked about, I think it was yesterday, like the Jazz have effectively made Kessler unavailable. You're gonna have to get really silly with your offers there to get them, and they're in a spot where why would they? Right, they're in a pretty good place. So with him.
All right, everybody. Well, we appreciate y'all joining the show. If you're a Lakers fan, I'll be live in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. Well, I guess hour and 45 minutes because it's a 4:30 start time on today's. But it'll be Lakers Sixers. So if you guys want to come join over on Lakers Nation, we'll be live doing the play-by-play for that. YouTube.com/Lakers Nation if you want to hang out, and we'll talk trades and stuff like that, as well as do the play-by-play.
Somebody said, what does the Fox say? Siren coming? If it drags out long enough, but we're kind of tight into the window where I don't know if that one's gonna drag out long enough.
I should totally make a drop that uses the laughing foxes that I love watching all the videos of.
Go crazy.
I'll have to do something like that.
That's all you, my friend. I don't like knowing. The less I know about them, the better, because then they hit me and I just laugh and I think they're funny. So,
Keith, can I give you a little bit of unscheduled nonsense?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is random completely. I got attacked by a chicken today.
What?
I got attacked by a chicken. Yeah, he's kind of a dick. This chicken.
Sounds like
I went out to feed my neighbor's chickens. Wandered over. We were talking about foxes, and that got me to the chickens are usually put away because they're worried about foxes and all that. My neighbor's chickens wander over, and I go out and I'm going to give them a little snack, and this chicken somehow just came flying at me, ran right into me. And so I went and had some chicken nuggets for lunch.
I was going to say, then you
just to get back at him.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Put them in their place.
That's too good.
Yes, that's the one I was about to.
That's too good.
Fucking around and found out. I love it. That is a perfect place to end this show.
That's the way to end it. Appreciate all of you. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.